All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, for the first time in the last 3 years, the Kansas City Chiefs are beginning their season with a loss as they fell to the Los Angeles Chargers last night in Brazil by the score of 27-21. And already the Chiefs are halfway to matching their loss total from a season ago as they went 15-2 in 2024. Now, is it still extremely early to push the panic button for the Chiefs? Absolutely, because it's just one game. Okay. However, you still got to sit back and examine certain things in regards to this Chiefs team. One, Kansas City was, and they're going to be without the services of Rasheed Rice for the next 5 games as he's serving a 6-game suspension from the National Football League. Secondly, the shoulder injury that was suffered by wide receiver Xavier Worthy last night that forced him to leave the game. And you just got to wonder. And I talked about this coming into the season, and I'm going to bring it up right now. Is the gap between the Chiefs and everyone else in the AFC West shrinking? Absolutely, because I talked about this during the offseason, okay? We're now talking about, aside from Andy Reid, the Chiefs head coach, we're talking about 2 other head coaches that are now in this division that have won Super Bowls. And the other, in Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers, he got a team to the Super Bowl. Okay. And in the case of Harbaugh and Sean Payton with the Denver Broncos, these guys are now, they have multiple years under their respective belts with their programs with their current team. Harbaugh just started his 2nd year with the Chargers, and of course, Sean Payton is set to begin his 3rd year in Denver. And then, of course, there's Pete Carroll, who is now taking over for the Raiders, another Super Bowl winning head coach. So when it's all said and done, things are going to get a little tighter in this division. It's going to be a scenario where can the Chiefs still win the AFC West? Absolutely. Okay, but they're going to have their work cut out for them this year if they're going to make it 10 consecutive titles. Now, last year in going 15-2, Kansas City was able to thrive in winning those close games. 6 of their 15 regular season wins were by 5 points or less. Not one possession, just 5 points or less. They just simply knew how to go out there and get it done. You also ask yourself, I know it's one game, but still, is there a possible Super Bowl hangover after that beatdown, courtesy of the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, I'll tell you like this. First and foremost, in his post-game interview last night, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes talked about the Chargers having more energy than his team. You know, first and foremost, that a Jim Harbaugh-led team is going to have a ton of energy. That's number one. Number two, I do think that the Chargers played with more energy, and I think that they played with more of a sense of urgency than Kansas City. If you look at this game, first and foremost, it was basically the same old song that we've seen recently for Kansas City, and that is, you know what? We're gonna sit back and let number 15 do his thing and try to pull it out for us. Well, you can't just sit back and continue to rely on that philosophy. Is Patrick Mahomes that darn good? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you've got to step up and you've got to take the bull by the horns. And regardless of the fact of the Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champions or not, they're basically going to continue to be everybody's de facto Super Bowl game because they're everybody's litmus test. Now you look at their games against AFC West opponents last year. All of them were very close, and I know the Denver got one of those wins over Kansas City last year, albeit it was a 38 to nothing shutout in week number 18 in Denver, and of course Kansas City rested all of their top guys, but nonetheless, all of those games were close. And you look at this Chargers team right now; they came ready to play. All right, you look at this game. Mahomes was only sacked twice, but it seemed like more than that, just due to the fact that Pat Mahomes once again was on his bicycle, and I'm not saying bicycle backing up. I'm saying bicycle like he was on his horse. Um, he had to move around. And it goes back to the Super Bowl loss that the Chiefs suffered this past February to the Philadelphia Eagles. And you go back and look at that game, for the most part, Mahomes really did not have an opportunity to set up. I don't care who you are as a quarterback. I don't care how good you are as a quarterback. No quarterback likes dealing with pressure. And of course, in that particular game, the Philadelphia Eagles had the luxury of creating the pressure with just their front four. The Chargers were relying on their defensive line, but they were also blitzing at times when they needed to in order to keep Mahomes out of rhythm as much as possible. That was a factor, honestly, for me. And honestly, I think, sometimes, there's always more of a hangover for the team that loses the Super Bowl than the team that wins. But I think, when you lose and you lose in the fashion that the Chiefs did lose, you know what? It could, hamper with your psyche. So I'm just throwing it out there. Another thing for me is the Chiefs no frills philosophy starting to catch up with them. And the reason why I say it is this: Kansas City is basically going out there, and this is no disrespect to the other guys. They paid Mahomes, they paid Chris Jones, they paid Travis Kelsey. It's basically like, you know what, we can just put anybody around Patrick Mahomes, and he'll go out there and he'll make them elevate their game to the next level. That can get you so far. And of course, the Chiefs have had success at doing that. But at some point, you know what? It's got to be other guys. And I really think right now, in some senses, that Kansas City is taking this thing for granted. Now, on the flip side, teams are starting to do against Kansas City what they have needed to do. Like I said before, you have to play with a sense of urgency. You have to bring your A plus game if you're going to beat this Chiefs team. And on top of that, when you have an opportunity to score, you can't settle for field goals. You have to score touchdowns. You have to stay aggressive. And that is what the Chargers were able to do last night. If you go back to the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles were extremely aggressive. If you go back to the one de facto game that Kansas City lost in the regular season last year at Buffalo, Buffalo was extremely aggressive. These are the things that you have to do. And of course, surprisingly, Kansas City had more penalties than the Chargers last night as well. One thing I would say, um, Kansas City's going to have some time off right now. They're going to get ready to host the Philadelphia Eagles next Sunday at Arrowhead. I think the biggest thing for me, or one of the big things for me, they need more balance. Yes, they finished with more rushing yards than the Chargers last night, but the Chargers had more rushing attempts. Kansas City only attempted 17 rushes last night compared to the 39, or pardon me, the 25 rather, for the Chargers, and of course 17 rushing attempts compared to 39 pass attempts for Patrick Mahomes. And I'll tell you like this: Patrick Mahomes cannot, I repeat, cannot be your leading rusher if you are the Chiefs. Chiefs never led at any point of the game last night. Okay, and again, that's a credit to Jim Harbaugh, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the Chargers. I think the Chargers played an excellent game. I think Jim Harbaugh had his team prepared, and I think, say whatever you want, but Jim Harbaugh is a guy that's always going to have his teams prepared, whether it's in college or in the pros. And like I said before, you have three legitimate coaches in this division right now alongside Andy Reid. All right. It's going to be tougher for Kansas City to get to that point as far as winning the division. I say, regardless if they get the division or not, this is still a postseason team. This is still a very talented team. But like I said before, I truly do believe that gap in this division is shrinking. So you look at it, they've got the Eagles next Sunday. I think they need to try to go out there and find more balance. It's going to be easier said than done because Philadelphia is going to come to town. They're going to want to prove that this past February Super Bowl domination was not a fluke, and they're going to want to try to go out there and try to get after Patrick Mahomes again defensively. And of course, they want to do their thing on offense as well, and they have a lot of talent out there to get it done. The bottom line is Kansas City's got to buckle up. Okay, I mean, you look at a guy like Travis Kelsey. He's 35. He's going to be 36 next month. He's still a quality tight end. Maybe not the tight end that he was 5 years ago, but he's a guy who could still go out there and get it done. And then, of course, you still got number 15 at quarterback. But again, he can't do it by himself, and guys got to step up. So you look at this Chiefs team, it's back to the drawing board. There's still plenty of football ahead of them. Clearly, they've still got 16 games left in their regular season. But of course, that long flight back stateside from Brazil, excuse me, just got longer when you're on the wrong side of that defeat. And of course, they're hopeful to find out some good news possibly on Xavier Worthy. But nonetheless, strong start for the Chargers. Okay, and let's see if the Chargers can build off of that. And again, getting back to last night, I feel like at some points Kansas City just figured, like, you know what, we're going to figure it out. We're going to find a way and get it done, and the Chargers are going to continue to charger. Neither one of those things happened last night. The Chargers brought their A game. Justin Herbert was ready to play. Jim Harbaugh had his team ready to play. And let's see if Kansas City, what they're going to do now. There's a possibility they might be the only team in this division to suffer a loss. We've got to wait and see. Of course, the Raiders are in New England tomorrow to take on the Patriots, and of course, the Broncos host the Tennessee Titans. But nonetheless, bad start for Kansas City. I know it's one game, but they're also 0-1 in the division. So let's see how the Chiefs rebound for this next weekend when they host Philadelphia. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check us out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check us out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, please be sure to check us out at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.